to seduce her slave, and she had evil intentions towards him. So she thought to herself that I need to respond. I need to give them a response. But rather than going to each individual lady, she came up with a plan, and she called them all over to her house, her palace, whatever they had. And she prepared a banquet. She put on very good reclining seating with cushions. And she made the atmosphere enjoyable. And lavish food was put there. And the plan that she made was usually in a banquet, foods that need to be cut are usually cut beforehand. Yet she did not get the fruits cut. In fact, she gave the fruits, Mufassirin say the food that was given to them was fruits, but she left them complete. And this was part of the plan. And then when they came to the stage where they had to eat the fruit, because it was not pre-cut, they had to cut it themselves, and the knife was there. And when she saw that they have started to cut the fruits, then at that moment she called Yusuf ﷺ, that come inside the room. So as a servant, as a slave, Yusuf ﷺ, obeying her mistress, her master's wife, his master's wife, she came into the room. And as soon as he entered, he didn't know that Zuleika had made this plan. He entered looking down with haya, dignity. And the women, as soon as they saw Yusuf ﷺ, they were immersed in his beauty. They were speechless. They became mesmerized. Such a beautiful person. Never seen a person like this. And their whole focus, their attention went towards him. And the faculty of thinking for that moment switched as well. And rather than cutting the fruit, they ended up cutting their hands. And sometimes it happens at home as well, that the mother is talking on the phone or doing two things at once. She's cutting the onions and she doesn't realize, her mind goes on one place and she ends up cutting her finger. Similarly, these people, they are so immersed in Yusuf ﷺ in looking at him that they end up cutting their fingers. As soon as they cut their fingers, Zuleika grasped the moment. She grabbed the chance and straight away she said, ذَلِكَ الَّذِي وَذَلِكُ الَّذِي لُمْتُنَّنِي فِي. That this is the person that you are criticizing me for. قالت فَذَلِكُنَّ الَّذِي لُمْتُنَّنِي فِي. She said, this is what you are criticizing me for. That until today, all this gossip you are doing, you're saying that the Aziz's wife has fallen head over heels in love over this slave, and you are blaming me, and you are saying, how low has she gone? How low can you stoop? How low can you go that you start to fall in love with your slave and your husband's a minister? So she said, you are saying all these things about me. And you are saying, Inna lanaraha fi dalalin mubin, that we think she's in open error. Well, this is a person. Look at him. And look at your state. You've just had a glance. You've just seen him once. And Yusuf, when he came in, he was looking down with haya. You've only seen a part of him. And you've ended up cutting your hands. I have to face him. I have to see him every day. You think you understand what emotions and passions I go through? So she was trying. She made this plan to make them understand and try to make them think that she is not free of blame. She is free of blame. She is not to be blamed. What is happening is natural. I have to do it because look at the person. So at that moment she said, فَقَالَتْ فَذَلِكُمْ الَّذِي لُمْتُنَّنِي فِيهِ. This is the person for whom you are criticizing me, that I fall in love with him. And then she goes on to say, وَلَقَدْ رَاوَدْتُهُ عَنْ نَفْسِهِ فَاسْتَعْصَمَ. And indeed I attempted to seduce him against his will, but he escaped. He abstained. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protected him. So first, initially, when the whole episode happened, she denied it. She denied that she had anything. In fact, when they met at the door, when Aziz of Misr came and Yusuf ﷺ was running and Zuleika was behind him and they met at the door, she said straight away that مَا جَزَاءُ مَنْ أَرَادَ بِأَهْلِكَ سُوءًا. What should happen to the person who has evil intentions for your wife? Straight away she blamed Yusuf ﷺ. But as time passed, and now when she realized that all her friends are on the same page as her, all her friends are mesmerized and they are speechless, and they have never seen beauty to such limits. So then she became open. And before in front of her husband, she was blaming Yusuf ﷺ Now she's blaming, she's openly admitting and she's confessing that I made the mistake. And she says, وَلَقَدْ رَاوَدْتُ نَفْسِي, indeed I attempted to seduce him for Stasam, but he escaped. In this ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to show that how low a person can go. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala has given insan two things. One is haya and one is fear. Fear and haya are two things that can save a person from guna. إِذَا لَمْ تَسْتَحِي فَاسْنَعْ مَا شِئْتَ. When a person loses haya, he will do anything. He is not bothered about anything. So one thing that can save a person from sin is haya. And the other thing is fear. Fear of his father, fear of his ustad, fear of Allah. Fear and haya, two such things, two such akhlaqs in a person's body, in a person's heart, that can save him from sin. But when this haya goes, then a person will do sin, and in fact, he will openly advertise and he openly exhibit his sin. And this is exactly what Zulaikha is doing now. That when the haya of hers drops so low, Allah is showing that when your haya drops so low, that what she's doing, now in front of her friends, she's openly admitting that yes, I did seduce him. I tried to call him towards guna. And nowadays, sadly, amongst the Muslims, we see this, that on social media, boys and girls who are doing evil, whether it's alcohol, whether it's drugs, whether it's talking to girls, they openly express it to their friends. That last night I did this, last night I did this, I am in a relationship with this girl, she is mine, he is mine. Na'udhu billah, and they openly exhibit it. They openly show that they are having alcohol, they take pictures. I've come across people, I've been told that some people, they exhibit and they put the pictures of what they did last night. They take screenshots, they do videos of where they were, whether they were in a nightclub or wherever they were, openly exhibiting the guna. And when a person does this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is very, very displeased. Kullu ummati mu'afa, Rasul said, every person of my ummati will be forgiven. Illa al-mujahirun. But those people who do guna and then they openly say it, they openly show it. And in this ayat, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to show that look how low Zulaikha went. That now in front of her friends, she's openly saying that yes, I did seduce him. And then she goes on to say that he abstained and he refrained. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala exonerates and takes away the blame from Yusuf ﷺ from the tongue of Zulaikha. But before this, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, many times, before Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Quran, He says Himself, آتَيْنَا حُكْمًا وَعِلْمًا, that we gave him wisdom, nubuwwat and ilm. And those people who have been given nubuwwat ilm, they can never do such a thing. So even before the story, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala freed Yusuf ﷺ from blame. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala took the blemish away from him. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala brought the witness. وَشَهِدَ شَاهِدٌ مِّنْ أَهْلِهَا إِنْ كَانَ قَمِيصُهُ. The witness himself, a baby, a child that could not speak, gave witness for Yusuf ﷺ that he is not on the wrong. She is on the wrong. Then Aziz Misr himself realized, and he told his wife, وَاسْتَغْفِرِي لِذَنْبِكِ. You make istighfar for what you've done. إِنَّكِ كُنْتِ مِنَ الْخَاطِئِينَ. It was you who was on the wrong. So even Aziz Misr recognized. And then in the end, Zulaikha herself even admits that I did wrong. But then, because her haya had gone so low, what does she say? وَلَئِن لَمْ يَفَلْ مَا أَمُرُوا لَيُسْجَنَنَّ وَلَيَكُونَ مِنَ الصَّاغِرِينَ. That وَلَئِن لَمْ يَفَلْ, if he does not do as I command him, وَلَئِن لَمْ يَفَلْ مَا أَمُرُوا لَيُسْجَنَنَّ, then he shall certainly be in prison, and he will definitely become of those who are humiliated. So she expresses that she's the one that seduced him, she's the one that called him to zina. And on top of that, now she's openly giving me a threat that in future, if I call you and if you don't listen to me, if you don't oblige with my commands, then I will definitely put you in jail, I will get you in prison, and I will get you humiliated. She is threatening me that through the Aziz Misr, through my husband, I will humiliate you and I will disgrace you and put you in prison. And to go in prison, for any person with self-respect, any person with dignity, he will never want to see the jail, because this becomes a blemish on him. And this, she is threatening Yusuf that if you don't want this to happen, then do as I am telling you. And some of us say that when the women that was sat in that room, when they saw Yusuf and the beauty, they also fell. And they also now, when they saw that this is not normal beauty, this is beyond beauty, this is something which is not even called beauty, this is beyond comprehension. So they turned to him and they started to tutor him and they started to teach him and they started to give him lessons. Okay, oh Yusuf, you are her slave. You have to listen to her. You have to oblige with the rules. You have to do what she's telling you. She is such a good person. She is your mistress. And they started to put pressure on him. They started to put their clout on him. And they started to try to force him towards listening to Zulaikha's command. And as you can see, every day passes and Yusuf's test is getting harder and harder. Before, 2 days before, he escaped from the room, and as he must have saw and he must have thought, Kital, Alhamdulillah, I'm free, I've been protected, I'm out of the thingy. But before you know, she made another plan. And now she's openly telling that if you don't do as I tell you, then I will definitely punish you. So that's why when Rasulullah said, Ashad al-Balayl al-Anbiya, that the most trials, the most tests on the Anbiya, ثُمَّ الْأَمْثَلَ فَالْأَمْثَلِ, then those who are close, who are on the path of Islam, on the tariqah of Anbiya sallallahu, they will definitely get tested. Allah will test them, Allah will see how strong their iman is. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will give them afiyat as well, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect them as well. But He will definitely test you. So when Yusuf saw this, that she's openly threatening me, and that now I am surrounded all four sides. She's threatening me, I have to live in the house, and I'm going to face her every day. These women are also telling me to do as she's telling me. They're telling me to do zina, fulfill her desires. So at that moment, Yusuf turned towards Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He turned his tawajjuh to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He said, قَالَ رَبِّ السِّجْنُ أَحَبُّ إِلَيَّ مِمَّا يَدْعُونَ إِلَيْهِ, that, oh Allah, oh my Rabb, أَحَبُّ the prison, رَبِّ السِّجْنُ أَحَبُّ إِلَيَّ, the prison is more dearer to me than that towards which these women are calling me. That she is telling me, I will put you in jail. Oh Allah, I am happy to go in jail. I am happy to go in jail. Rabbi Sijnu ahabbu ilayya. It is more beloved to me than what they are calling me. They are calling me towards zina. They are calling me towards fulfilling Zuleika's passion and desires. I don't want to do this. And wa illam yaf'al ma amuru. Rabbi Sijnu ahabbu ilayya wa illa tasrif anni kaydahun. And oh Allah, if you do not turn their plot away from me, wa illa tasrif anni kaydahunna asbu ilayhinna wa akum min al-jahilin. I will incline towards them. I will incline towards what they're saying, and I will become amongst the ignorance. So after Yusuf saw the determination in Zuleika that I am definitely going to do what I'm going to do. I'm going to fulfill my desires. You will not be able to stop me. So Yusuf saw that she's made a resolve. She is adamant on her intentions. So straight away Yusuf decided in his heart and decided in his mind that to become imprisoned, to go in jail and to be protected from this sin and to stay in the pleasure and happiness of Allah is much, much more better than to staying free in the palace with all the luxuries and succumbing to his and falling to his sin. That rather than staying in comfort zone, rather than staying in a lavish life, because he was a ghulam, he was a slave, but he was living in the palace of the minister. So rather than living in a comfortable life, but falling prey to his guna, I'd rather go in jail and I'd rather go through all the difficulties and all the hardships and whatever severity there is there, whether there's food on time or no food, I'd rather go in jail and fulfill this and protect myself from this guna. And this for us is a lesson that in life you will have clashes, and on one side there will be a dunya, and one side will be a hereafter. Just like Yusuf on one side was dunya, the comfort of this world, the comfort of the palace, and on one side was his hereafter. And what did he do? He gave preference to his hereafter. And without doubt, a Nabi would definitely do this. Not a Nabi, even a wali would do this, and not even a wali, even every Muslim should have this jazbah. That if dunya and deen become a clash, on one side if he fulfills dunya, then his deen is at risk. And if he fulfills the deeni obligation, then he's going to lose dunya. At that moment, every believer should do this. If he wants to advance in business, but he has to take a loan, then rather not advance in business, but protect yourself from loan. There's two. You want to advance in business and make the best of this dunya. But by advancing in business, you have to take the loan where Allah is displeased. At that moment, leave this and leave the loan and uphold the command of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So Yusuf straight away he thought, no, I'm going to give preference to deen. Whatever happens, I'm going to give preference to deen. And this is the jazbah that every person should have. That on one side is, we see in our life basic things. On one side your parents are calling you to go to a gym. On one side is a namaz time. Who do we give preference to? On one side there's football, on one side there's namaz. On one side there's a moment of listening to bayan and there's something coming on TV. What do we give preference to? And this is a lesson for us. Yusuf had a very, very great challenge. For us, Allah subhanahu put small challenges. And He wants to see whether we can adopt and fulfill this criteria that we give preference to the akhir over dunya. And then He says, وَإِلَّا تَصْرِفْ عَنِّي كَيْدَهُنَّ, that oh Allah, if you don't turn this plot away from me, then I fear, because as being a human, I fear that I may incline towards them and I may become amongst the ignorant. So he straight away sought Allah's help, that Allah divert this plot that these women are making, and they are being cunning and being sly towards, Allah take this away from me. And at that moment, Yusuf salam, he is Nabi. He will not do sin. But out of fear, out of khashya, he did not rely on his self. In fact, straight away he turned to Allah that if anything, Allah, you can only protect me from guna. This is a lesson for us. And whenever we fall in any situation where you see he sends guna coming towards you, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. If anything, it's Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala who can protect us. And from this, ulama have mentioned that Yusuf says that وَإِلَّا تَصِبَنِّ كَيْدَهُنَّ أَصْبُ إِلَيْنَا وَأَكُمْ الْجَاهِلِ I will become amongst ignorant. So ulama say that those people who have been given knowledge of deen, deen is not just words. Knowledge of deen is words coupled with nur. This nur that comes in your heart. Imam Shafi rahmatullahi went to his ustad and he said, Shakawtu ila wakin suwa hifzi. He went to his ustad Waki and he said that I have very weak memory. فَأَخْبَرَنِي بِتَرْكِ الْمَعَاصِي. He told me that leave out guna. فَإِنَّ الْإِلْمَ نُورٌ because ilm is nur. Ilm is nur, ilm will guide you. And this nur comes from heart to heart, from your ustad's heart. And ulama say that if a person has knowledge and he has nur, then this nur will compel him from staying away from sin. This nur will not let him go anywhere near sin. This nur will remind him at the moment, no, I can't do this. But if a person is known to be an alim, title of alim, but he does guna, then this shows that he's got the loves, he's got the words of ilm, he's got the wordy format, but he doesn't have the nur in his heart. Okay, if he truly had nur in his heart, he would not have fallen for the guna. So in Yusuf salam, he turns to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and he says to Allah that I prefer hardship over comfort. I prefer the suffering of the jail, or rather go in jail, but I don't want to do the sin. فَاسْتَجَابَ رَبُّ فَصَرَفَ عَنْهُ كَيْدَهُنْ إِنَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted his prayer. And to preserve his chastity and to preserve his purity, فَصَرَفَ عَنْهُ كَيْدَهُنْ, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala turned away the plot from him. إِنَّهُ هُوَ السَّمِيعُ الْعَلِيمُ. Undoubtedly he is all hearing. Sami Alim, he is all knowing. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows everything that's happening. It is up to us to turn to him. And if we make dua sincerely, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely come to our help. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala definitely come to our rescue and protect us. And there are many stories in the hadith and in the Quran of the Anbiya salam, how they made dua. Surah Anbiya in the 17th Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala makes mention of so many Anbiya salam, that فَاسْتَجَابَ لَهُ رَبُّهُ فَصَرَفَ عَنْهُ كَيْدَهُنْ فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْغَمِّ. They turned to us, we took away sorrow from him. They turned to us, as Hazrat Zakaria turned, Allah subhanahu for children. فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ وَنَجَّيْنَاهُ مِنَ الْغَمِّ وَكَذَلِكَ نُنْجِي الْمُؤْمِنِينَ فَاسْتَجَبْنَا لَهُ وَوَهَبْنَا لَهُ يَحْيَى وَأَصْلَحْنَا لَهُ زَوْجَهُ. When a person turns to Allah with sincerity, with ikhlas, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will definitely give you. Sometimes it might take a little while, sometimes it might take long. Ibrahim sallallahu salam asked, the dua didn't happen straight away, happened. Some Mufassirin say that he was given Ismail after 70 years. The dua he made, but after 70 years the dua came into material. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not let your dua go. But sometimes to materialize might take long. But you have to always make dua. Whenever you come to a junction and you feel you are stuck, turn to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. He will definitely come to your rescue. He will accept and He will give you protection. ثُمَّ بَدَا لَهُم مِّن بَعْدِ مَا رَأَوُا الْآيَاتِ لَيَسْجُدُنَّهُ وَالتَّعْيِينَ. Then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala accepted his dua. And then after, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talks about the ministers. ثُمَّ بَدَا لَهُم. Then after reviewing the evidence, the story, the gossip was going very viral in the whole city, and the ministers now thought, what should we do? So they all gathered. ثُمَّ بَدَا لَهُم. After reviewing the evidence, after looking at all the testament, that the boy is saying, the child is saying, the Aziz Misr, Zuleika herself has also admitted that she's the one that seduced him. So they knew he was innocent. They knew Yusuf was innocent. ثُمَّ بَدَا لَهُم مِّن بَعْدِ مَا رَأَوُا الْآيَاتِ. After they saw all the signs, after they saw all the witnesses, the testimonies, still ثُمَّ بَدَا مِّن بَعْدِ مَا رَأَوُا الْآيَاتِ لَيَسْجُنُنَّهُ. They decided, it occurred to them that they should imprison him for a while. Why? They decided that let's put him in prison. And they sat down, they decided. Why? Because they thought that if you put him in prison, number one, the general public will think that Yusuf is guilty, and the wife of Aziz Misr's wife is innocent. So all this blemish that will come on the household will be taken away. They will be free of blame. And number two, that if he goes in jail, then these women will not be able to see him, and their minds and their thoughts and their hearts will go away from him. So the inclination towards Yusuf will go away. So the women will become normal as well. And the blame will be on Yusuf, and slowly all this charcha, all this chit chat, and all this gossip that is going on, that will all slow down, freeze away, and everyone will to forget about this. So to safeguard the minister's household and to safeguard his dignity, they put Yusuf in prison. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, then afterwards, the next surah Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala mentions that when you enter jail, what happened? So may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us understanding. And there's many lessons. Surah Yusuf is complete, filled with lessons of haya, of sabr, istiqamat, of turning to Allah. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala grant us the ability to understand these lessons and adopt them into our life. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us from those gunas. Zina is such a guna that Rasul said, La yazni zani wa yazni. That a person does not do zina whilst he's doing zina, but he's not a mu'min. Meaning his iman is taken away. And in another hadith is mentioned that his iman comes out and it is above his head. It is like an umbrella floating above his head. When a person is in zina, then his iman leaves his heart. It is floating above his head. Imagine whilst in this state a person dies. How is he going to? And the beginning of zina, al-bad'u zina, al-nazr. The beginning of zina starts with the eyes. That's why the Quran Sharif very strongly says that kulil mu'minin yaghuddu min absarihim, that all believers lower your gazes. If you lower your gazes, the gaze, al-ainu sahmun, shaitan. The eye is an arrow for shaitan. Shaitan uses the eye, and through the eye he will go into your heart and infiltrate, and he will put the thoughts of sin into your heart. So a person protects his eye gazes, his eyesight, and inshallah the other things. وَلَا تَقْرَبُوا zina. Don't even go near zina, meaning don't even do bad nazri. Bad nazri will take you to zina. So it's a very heinous act, very evil act. And may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protect us, forgive us, and may Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala keep us steadfast and give us istiqamah. Subhanallah wa bihamdihi, subhanallah wa bihamdihi, ashhadu an la ilaha illa anta, astaghfiruka.